You gotta come celebrate the best tacos in Texas at the Texas Monthly Taco Fest on June 7th at Discovery Green. You'll get to sample some of the best taquerias around as appointed by the one and only Texas Monthly Taco Editor. This celebration of the 50 best tacos in Texas is gonna feature live music, drinks, and my favorite part, all the tacos you can handle and more. Get your tickets now at texasmonthly.com/tacofest. Need a fun free indoor activity? Well, the Contemporary Arts Museum has you covered with its new exhibition, Out of Stock. This inspiring exhibit features work from Houston teens and was curated and created by CAM's 14th Teen Council. The artwork really makes you think and reflect on big ideas like consumerism and identity. Out of Stock is made by teens, but everyone will enjoy it. The exhibit is running now until October 19th, so head to camh.org to learn more. And don't forget, CAM is always free. I'll see you there. Today on CityCast Houston, how are we really feeling about our city? The longest running survey in the country just dropped its latest results about our quality of life in H-Town. So I'm digging into it with ABC 13 reporter Shannon Ryan, plus the next steps on Mayor Whitmire's budget. It's Tuesday, May 20th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Shannon, the big budget hearing is happening this week, and I know you've been covering the city budget on your City Hall beat. You've talked to Mayor Whitmire a few times already about things he and his administration are doing to balance the budget, but remind us just how big is the budget deficit right now, and what are the big things they're doing to close the gap?
Well, I think the word deficit, the mayor's team would certainly want to push back against, but we do. We have a budget deficit. We have a gap. It's about $100 million. So that's the gap between projected revenue and expenditures. So that's money that the city will need to eat up from its fund balance, which is sort of the equivalent of like a savings account. Mm-hmm. The mayor's team, again, pushes back against that, saying last year we ate up about twice that from, again, the equivalent of our savings account. But what I'm looking for this week is really, what is city government going to look like once this budget passes? We know that they're going through a reorganization process. We know different departments are going through cuts. What does that mean for different departments? And what does that mean for city services? The mayor says this won't negatively impact city services, but I think a lot of council members, and rightfully so, have questions as to how that can be possible.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that is the big thing, right? Like when he unveiled his new budget, there were slashes to city services, right? And we're kind of getting an understanding of how it's going to be impacting the city. So, for example, the Parks Department, right? The Parks Department is already coming out and saying, guys, this budget is not going to help us at all in terms of keeping up with, maintenance, security, and just other things with city parks, right? Like, for example, grass grows during the summer. It's going to be really long between cuts. Like before, it used to be about 2 weeks between cuts. And now the Parks Department is saying it could be up to 24 days and sometimes 45 days. So there's one example, right? And we're going to get more of a picture on like how things are impacted. I know the mayor is saying like, no, things are going to be okay, but these are the realities that we're facing right now as a city.
Yeah, and the list, Raheel, it just goes on and on. Mm-hmm. You have the neighborhoods department, libraries, health. I mean, neighborhoods alone, they're losing $7 million. So again, what will things look like when all is said and done?
Yeah, and those cuts, right? Like, for example, the librarians, are they going to be working shorter hours? How are they going to be, providing services? So this is all something that we're about to learn right now. And this is going to be a big week. What exactly is happening?
So this week, there's going to be a public hearing, and they always have to have that before the budget passes. And we will also just hear from everyday Houstonians who are perhaps concerned about some of these cuts we've just discussed.
And in these hearings, you're going to be covering this, as a City Hall reporter for ABC 13. What exactly are you watching for? Because this is going to be a pretty tension-filled upcoming few weeks between Mayor Whitmire, City Controller Chris Hollins, City Council, the public, as you mentioned. But this week, what are you looking for?
I think what I'm most excited about coming up, that sounds so nerdy to say, it's just I want to be keeping an eye on the budget amendments because it's where you get to see where council members' priorities lie. And I'm also excited to see who's able to sneak some things in at the very last minute.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up council members, right? Have you heard anything from them? Like, have you gotten an early insight into their psyche about this budget and how they're leaning, or what amendments, as you mentioned, are they going to try to sneak in, anything like that?
I think what I'm hearing the most is just uncertainty regarding the rework. So I think for the stage we're at right now, it's just folks looking to get clarification as to what things will look like.
Your colleague, Micah Hatfield, actually had this big story over the weekend about the city of Houston and the World Cup. And I don't know how the budget is going to play out with the World Cup. Like, I'm going to have to dig in a little bit as well. But her big story was the city is actually, trying to fix a lot of issues before the World Cup next year. And again, that's next summer, but this budget is going to be part of that summer, right? So things like, streetlights not working, old houses that need to be demolished, potholes, pretty much anything that is going to make the city look bad. The city has to take care of that. And they're starting right now, and they will continue for the upcoming months. So this budget will have an impact on that. So that's another thing I'm worrying about. City Controller Chris Hollins as well. Like, that angle, I keep bringing this up because he has to certify the budget, right? And then it gets approved by council. What do you think are the biggest issues keeping him from giving his stamp of approval?
Yeah, he's previously said that he was incredibly concerned about the budget deficit. Obviously, we've whittled that number down, but he had previously said that he didn't think that he was going to be able to certify it when the budget deficit was significantly larger than it is now.
Yeah, that's going to be another big thing. As I mentioned, we're going to be watching. You're going to be covering it as well. So make sure you watch ABC 13. Make sure you listen to us here on CityCast Houston as well. And we'll keep you up to date on what is happening with the budget. Okay, Shannon, look, you were nerding out with like some amendments in the budget, right? I nerd out with the Kinder survey. It is one of my favorite things to read and kind of get a sense of what Houstonians are feeling. And the annual survey is out right now. 10,000 Houstonians took this survey. And this year it's a little different because not only were people in Harris County taking it, but also in Montgomery and Fort Bend as well. So we have a pretty big snapshot of how people are feeling across not only the city of Houston, but our entire region, including Fort Bend, where I reside. So I'm going to throw out some of these numbers and some of the more interesting numbers that stood out to me in the longest running survey in the country. That's pretty incredible that we get a chance to understand how everyone's feeling. So one of the most important questions, in my opinion, Shannon, is the question where the survey will ask the takers, what are the biggest problems we face right now? Okay, so this could range from crime, the economy, traffic, and some other options. But the biggest one right now in Harris County, can you guess what it was?
Flooding?
No, flooding was not number one. That one did not make the list, unfortunately. And that is something that we should be worried about, of course. But yeah, that was not there in the top three because infrastructure is something that did make the list later on, but it didn't make the top three.
I don't know. Traffic? Crime? What?
Uh,
What is it?
keep going.
Traffic, crime. What else do we have? What are people mad about?
I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, crime was number one in Harris County, okay? The economy was number two. That is the biggest problem we face according to the survey takers in Harris County. And housing was number three. That was pretty surprising that everyone's aware of the housing crisis in terms of the people who took the survey in Harris County. By the way, if you want to learn more about how we can solve the housing crisis right now that we're facing in Houston and in Texas, listen to yesterday's episode that I did with Evan Mintz. It was very informative. But I'm also glad you brought up traffic because when you look at the suburbs of Montgomery and Fort Bend, Shannon, the number one biggest concern was traffic. And that makes sense,
that makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
It makes so much sense. Yeah. And like, I can't stand traffic. Anytime I drive into the city, I'm like, please, can we stop with this traffic? Ready for a summer escape that feels like a hidden gem? You gotta check out Bernie, Texas. If you're dreaming of winding roads, shady creekside strolls, and sweeping hill country views, then Bernie is calling your name. Located just outside of San Antonio, Bernie is your gateway to nature without sacrificing comfort or style. And this town really shows off during the summer with live music, outdoor markets, car shows, and more. There's something happening every weekend. And their food is way beyond your average small town. They have chef-driven restaurants, craft breweries, wine bars, and more. And you can't enjoy a Texas hill country town without a charming, walkable downtown. Bernie also has that. Slow down and explore their locally owned shops, art galleries, and beautifully preserved buildings. They're also launching a new passport to help you map out the latest in sipping, dining, and shopping in Bernie. Start planning your trip at visitbernie.org. Bernie, Texas, an elevated hill country experience. You only have 2 more Sundays left to enjoy Jazzy Sundays in the Park at the Waterworks lawn at Buffalo Bayou Park. Jazzy Sundays in the Park has become one of my favorite events in H-Town because I get to sit back with my wife and take in some great jazz music while our daughters hang out with kids from across the city. It's truly a community event celebrating H-Town, and it's all free. Performances are from 5 to 7 p.m., so it's the perfect way to end your weekend on a high note and soak up Houston's vibrant culture and jazz heritage. You only have 2 more Sundays left to check out these great local musicians, so grab a blanket and some chairs and head to Jazzy Sundays in the Park for an afternoon of live jazz and community. Find the full schedule of performances at buffalobayou.org. And now I want to ask you, what are your biggest concerns?
Flooding. I think flooding would be like infrastructure, streets, and drainage. And hopefully, now that there's a settlement, we'll see some progress in that
hmm
regard. We'll see more infrastructure that combats that. Yeah, traffic isn't great. I don't know. We're such a car centric city, though.
Yeah, it's part of our lives.
Yeah.
And if you could solve that, it'd be great. But I was kind of surprised that people in Harris County didn't put traffic in their top 3. So that means it's part of it. Maybe it's not as bad driving between streets as opposed to driving into the city on 59 or, if you're taking 610 or 45, whatever it may be. It just depends where you're coming from. So that is one of the things. But yeah, the traffic was not in the top 3 for residents of Harris County.
I'm surprised housing was as high as it is because, yes, we do have issues with housing, but having just come back from the East Coast, in my mind, it's still so much more livable here.
Yeah. When you zoom out, you're like, it is better here. But I'm glad you brought up economic opportunity because when survey takers were asked, what is the best thing in our region? Number 1 was diversity. 25% of the people said diversity is amazing. 13% said that economic opportunity is one of the best things in our region. That was actually second, but only 9% of the takers, Shannon, said that the cost of living is the best thing in our region. I thought that would be higher as well, but I think it's shifting and it truly is now where, people don't feel like the cost of living is the best thing here.
That's fair. Even just with inflation, I feel like it's hard to be optimistic about the cost of living, period. When you go to the grocery store and everything
Mhm.
costs so much more than it did a year, 2 years ago, I guess it makes sense that people would feel more pessimistic about it.
Yeah. Right. You think about the housing crisis, you start thinking about the home insurance crisis,
Hmm.
renter's insurance, right? And as you mentioned, inflation with everyday items, groceries. Good luck trying to buy a car with these interest rates because they're so high right now. And then car insurance as well. Everything seems like it's stacked against us here in the city of Houston and surrounding areas. And we're all starting to feel it, right? Because at one point, this was our calling card that we are an affordable city. This is where you come and things are great, right? And you can afford certain things like buying a house and buying that car and feel great about it. But now it's just not the case. And you mentioned you were in the East Coast over the weekend. It is way more expensive there, but we're just used to a certain type of lifestyle here when it comes to affordability.
Oh, absolutely. And to your point as well, maybe somebody can afford to buy that house, but insuring it is a completely different story. A few months back, we did a piece on that, and it was crazy. We had people who their homeowners insurance rates were doubling, tripling whenever they went to renew. It's brutal just with the natural disasters we've had as of late.
Yeah. It's so sad. Like, how do you almost make it, right? Like, and have
Yeah.
money for things like, a vacation or savings or whatever it may be. It breaks my heart because that was one of our best things here. Also, another thing that stood out to me, and it's the last number. And by the way, the entire thing is up online today, so you can read into it. It is super long, but it is such an interesting read for me because I just like seeing how people are feeling, right? But one thing about our area, and I've always felt this, okay? When you move here, you don't leave, okay? 75% of Harris County residents have lived in this area for more than 15 years. Like, once you get here, you're not leaving.
Because the cost of living is decent. See?
Yeah. So it's like, hey, I know things are getting expensive, but we still, appreciate the fact that this is a fun area, a great area. It's somewhere that once you get here, you don't leave. And also 50% of people who moved here are like you, Shannon. They moved here for work. So like we see a representation of both in that you are part of that 50%. I'm part of that almost 75% that has lived here for more than 15 years. I've actually been here for 30 years now. So it's crazy.
Raheel, what is it that keeps you here? Have you ever considered moving elsewhere? Or
I moved to UT for school. I went to Austin, right? I was there for 3 years. So hook 'em horns. But that was for school and I came back. The thing that brings me back here is family, right? Like all my family lives here. I appreciate the cost of living, even though it's getting more expensive. I appreciate the space that I have, right? And I'm out in the suburbs, so I understand like that might not be the case for people in the city sometimes. I appreciate just the overall quality of life here as well. The diversity, the food, the people are nice. It's to me like just a great city. And yes, it gets hot. It's going to be hot, y'all. It's the summer. We're used to it. It might be a historic summer. I know it's been super hot
no,
lately.
please no.
I know. And hopefully we don't have that heat dome like we did a couple of years ago. But just overall, this place makes me happy. So that's why I like living here. And have I thought about moving? Sure. But when you start looking at prices of other cities, Shannon, it's too much. It's crazy.
I've only been here for a couple years now, but it really does feel like home. As you mentioned, the people are nice. Like, gosh, it's just so easy to start a life here.
It really is. It's such a fun place. And there's just so many great areas in our city to appreciate and the people. So, 15 years from now, when I'm talking to you again, Shannon, maybe you'll be part of that number of, survey takers who haven't moved in 15 years.
My colleagues always joke about that because like the big joke was that like nobody ever leaves ABC 13 and they're like, just you wait, man, the city will suck you in. Before you know it, it'll be 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, the city will really suck you in and you don't want to leave. I mean, think about it. Our mutual friend, Pooja Lodia, who's also a reporter at ABC 13, she moved here in 2012, I believe, and hasn't moved since. So, like, she's getting close to that number of 15 years. And that's just that H-Town love, right? Like, once you get here, you don't want to leave. And I love seeing that.
I love Pooja. She makes me laugh. She's like the city's ambassador overall. I feel like she's like our mascot. She's like just a ray of sunlight in human form. But she always talks about Houston and she's right. She's like, I love it. It's so nice. It feels like home.
Yeah.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistant's assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Okay, Shannon, you know what happens on Tuesday. It is time for Only in H-Town. Stories that are so uniquely Houston. They can be funny, they can be inspiring, whatever it is. But only in H-Town can this happen. And today's story is only in H-Town can a former HISD principal, Dr. Shelby Calabrese, who was put on leave, by the way, and terminated from Harvard Elementary in 2024 after Mike Miles took over. Well, only in H-Town can that former HISD principal appear on TLC's new dating show, 90 Day Hunt for Love. I'm not joking. That's right. Now, I know a lot of y'all might not remember Dr. C, as she was known as around the elementary, but she was a principal that was terminated. Parents were not happy. Then they had a principal who replaced her. And then that principal resigned a week later because parents were not happy. They were not consulted at all. Like, hey, this is going to be the new principal. So there was a lot of drama around her termination. So, well, now we know what she's up to. She's going to be on this new dating show. I have no idea what this dating show is about. Are you going to watch because she's on it?
Yes, and it sounds like Miss C has absolutely been through it over the past year, and she deserves to find love, and by golly, I hope she does.
For real. Also, I'm not sure, like, did they film this while she was a principal or was it after? I don't know what the timeline is, so I'm kind of curious to learn that as well as we learn more about the show.
I have a lot of questions also. I feel like people who are on those dating shows typically become like influencers after the fact. Have you looked up her social media? Is she like a celebrity now?
I don't know. That's a great question. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah. Could there be like a sneak peek? Is she married on Instagram now?
Shannon, the other thing is there's so many of these dating shows. Like, how do you even stand out, right? Like, I swear, every time I watch TV, I'm flipping through it. There's a new dating show. Or if I turn Netflix on, there's a new dating show. It's still a popular thing. So I hope she stands out in the dating show universe. Like the Marvel universe, there's a dating show universe, I'm sure.
She stands out to us here in Houston. She's our hometown hero, and we're rooting for her.
Okay, Shannon, be honest. Have you ever auditioned for a dating show?
I'm going to keep that to myself, Raheel.
Oh, man. Which one was it?
No, I was like going through it. It was like a bad breakup. And like late one night, I did submit an application.
Oh my gosh.
For The Bachelor, but they never called me. So how about you, Raheel?
I have never auditioned for a dating show. I was married by the time all the dating shows started popping off, but there's 100% chance I would have. Like if I was single, I would have definitely auditioned for one. I don't know which one, but I would.
Because I was researching The Bachelor when I went down that like late night rabbit hole of maybe I should just, take a 6-month hiatus or whatever. I don't think they really pay you. Like I was reading people go into all kinds of crazy debt. Like people are unemployed for several months. Like you would have you heard about this? The financial hardships associated with dating shows?
I mean, yeah, it makes sense, right? Like, because you have to leave your job. Like, yeah, I imagine there are hardships that come with this.
Sorry to be a buzzkill. I hope everybody finds love, especially Miss C.
Yeah, definitely. We all hope you find love. That's how you wrap it up right there. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Raheel. Always a pleasure.
That was ABC 13 reporter Shannon Ryan. All of the stories from today's show are linked in our show notes, along with info on how to subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Houston, for even more news, happenings, Houston history, and so much more. Help us grow the show by leaving us a rating and review wherever you're listening right now, and share this episode with 3 friends who live in the Galleria area so they can better connect to the stories and things that are impacting them and Houstonians across the city. And please be sure to subscribe to CityCast Houston if you haven't yet. Thanks. That will do it for today. I'm Raheel Ramzanali. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new.
You've been out in public with Pooja before, right?
Oh, yeah.
The public reaction to Pooja is unlike anything I've ever seen. You'll be walking across the street, people will scream her name out, like, Pooja Lodia, I love you.
I've been with her where people scream, I'm Pooja Lodia. Not just Pooja Lodia, but they do her sign off.
I got surgery and they were putting me under and they were talking about how I was at ABC 13. And one of the nurses kept saying, I'm Pooja Lodia, which was so trippy when you're going under. No, she's a celebrity. I love it. She cracks me up.
Yeah.
I'm going to text Pooja. Yeah, it was good. It was a fan podcast about you.